Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, the PUlpwood Queen. I'm reporting live from my little cabin in the woods, Murphy's Law, this blessed Sunday. And as I've been recently celebrated my 65th birthday, there's been a lot of things that I have been reflecting on as I social distance out in my woods the past 2 years. And today I'm going to share from 3 books, books that I give over and over as gifts, because the messages and the words in the book are so important that I want to share them with as many people as I can. And I'm going to begin with a book that I have given out over and over. It's called Rules for the Night, and it's by one of my favorite authors of all time, Ethan Hawke. And I'm going to be reading from this. He's an actor, he's an author. Everything I think he touches is gold. But as I begin, I'm going to start with chapter 1. It says, solitude. Create time alone with yourself. When seeking the wisdom and clarity of your own mind, silence is a helpful tool. The voice of our spirit is gentle and cannot be heard when it has to compete with others. Just as it is impossible to see your reflection in troubled water, so too it is with the soul. In silence, we can sense eternity sleeping inside of us. One time on a sweltering August night, grandfather and I made camp down by the ocean. He said, "Well, I teach you about the ways of the war. I want you to know about the real struggle is between the 2 wolves that live inside each of us." "2 wolves?" I asked, seated on an old log near the fire. My eyes were transfixed by the flames twisting uncomfortably in the night air. "One wolf is evil," he continued. "It is anger, envy, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, deceit, false pride." He paused, poking the embers of our fire with a long stick he'd been carving. "The other is good. It is joy, love, hope, serenity, humility, loving kindness, forgiveness, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, faith." I considered that for a minute, then tentatively asked, "Which wolf will win?" Sparks danced against the stars as the old man stared into the glare of the flames and replied, "Whichever one you feed." This book is a treasure. Rules for the Night by Ethan Hawke. And I will continue on with a book that I heard this young woman who went to Harvard read at the inaugural of President Biden, a poem. Her name is Amanda Gorman, "The Hill We Climb." It's an inaugural poem for the country, and I'd like to share it with you today. I think we all need to read the words over and over, because the more we read, the more we understand. Word by word, every one of these have been distilled down to the essence of what is important. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned the quiet isn't always peace. And the norms and the notions of what just isn't always justice. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the succeeders of a country in a time where a skinny Black girl, descended from slaves and raised by a single mother, can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but this doesn't mean we're striving to form a union that is perfect. We're striving to forge our union with purpose. To compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so that we can reach out arms out to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say that this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, and because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that. Everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges that we've made. That is the promised glade, the hill we climb, if we only dare it. Because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never permanently be defeated. In this truth, in this faith, we trust. And while we have our eyes on the future, history has her eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared it at inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour, but within it, we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So while we once asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be. A country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain. If we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we left. With every breath from our bronze-pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise with the gold-limed hills of the West. We will rise from the windswept Northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation. In every corner called our country, our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered but beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. A new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. I hope you all will get your own copy of The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman. Such beautiful words. And last, I want to share with you a poem that I read every morning when I do my meditation. It's something that I shared a common interest with by the author, with my father. The author is Joseph Marshall III. He is Lakota, and he wrote a series of nonfiction books, and keep going and tells my grandfather are some of my best. But I'm going to first show you. It's hanging in my office, and this is a signed copy of this poem. And now I'm going to read it to you. I read it every day. A young man asked his Lakota grandfather what the answer was to life's difficulties. Kihela koya, said the old man, keep going. And then he said, There are many realities to life, such as joy, sadness, winning and losing, standing and falling, plenty and hunger, good and bad. But the ultimate reality is that life is a journey. And sometimes we walk it in sunlight and sometimes in shadow. None of us ever asked to be born, but we are here. And we must walk our journey with our struggles, our strengths and weakness, within each of us, the will to win, as well as the willingness to lose. On, to put it another way, and the determination to face life or the fear to turn away from it. Life is not always easy. There are difficulties, storms, if you will, that bring loss, setbacks, sadness, heartache, and disappointments of every kind. But every storm, every difficulty can also reach to us to be strong, to learn to be strong. We must face the storms and the difficulties, what life throws at us. It means crying when we need to. It means to keep looking for answers, to keep hoping. It means to survive this moment and then the next and the next until the darkness passes and the sun rises again. And it always will. Life's journey is like climbing a hill to reach the top. We must do one step at a time. We should always remember that the smallest or weakest or slowest step toward the sunrise, toward hope, toward the top of the hill is stronger than any storm or difficulty. And we should never forget that the secret to determination is to keep going. No matter how weary we must be, no matter what life faces us, we should never forget to keep going. Above all, we must keep going. Kihila Kayo. Joseph Marshall III. Check out all of his books, and maybe perhaps you too will be inspired to read them and to read this poem every day. On this 65th year of my life, as I reflect back on everything that has happened and all this time being alone, I am now dedicating this next year to truly being an example of what I really believe in. These books, Rules from the Night, The Hill We Climb, the poem and book, Keep Going. Wonderful words. And the wonderful thing about the words and the books that we're sharing with our International Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys Book Club Reading Nation is these books, of course, are entertaining our lives in a time where we're armchair traveling through our reading, but they're also enlightening us on different cultures, different people of the world. They are also, and more importantly, enlightening us, they're educating us. The only way this world can be a better place is through reading. It's so simple. Read whatever you desire to read. Choose any subject. It doesn't matter to me what you read, whether it's a newspaper, a magazine, a comic book, a graphic novel, a book, a novel, nonfiction, a technical book. Read. The more we read, the more we're going to attain world peace. So this is my Sunday blessing to all of you. It's a blessing to me. And I thank you so much for joining me. It's been a wonderful life. It's been full of lots of hardships, but I learned from every single one of those. And if there's one thing I've learned, no matter how bad it gets, if you wait for it, it will come. I've had so many joys, and most of them have come from all my friendships with everybody on social media, my family, my friends, my International Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys Book Club authors and book club members. All of you were in it together. So let's all join hands across the world, and let's learn how to be a better people. Thank you so much. Have a blessed Sunday. It's all about the story. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.